I have no idea what's happening here. All right, everybody, welcome into the High Noon Rant with me, Pugs Moran. Welcome. Let me get the chat room going. Chat room. Where's my chat people? Excuse me. All right, here we go. Now we're starting to fill in. Welcome to the High Noon Rant. It's a show that we've been doing now for 2.5 years. Very proud and at the same time kind of ashamed of the fact that we've been doing this for 2.5 years every day, high noon. I get here, I sit here, and I tell you everything you need to know about the world. Hot topics, current events, headlines, buzz, whatever it is, I give it to you. Not whatever it is. We don't do politics. I can't. No, I won't do politics. You don't want politics. You can get politics everywhere else. This is for the the other stuff that's happening. The other stuff that's going on that really doesn't have everything to do with politics. And I know everybody says everything's got to do with politics. Well, these days maybe. But we try to do non-divisive, current events-driven hot talk. So welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. That's what that is. Now, how does it play out? 4 quarters. Think of it like a football game. First quarter, we do a thing called antecedently on this day, formerly known as erstwhile on this day. Those are just pretentious, fancy ways of saying on this day in history. All right, so something weird happened there. I tried to say pretentious, but it came out pretentious. And I was like, oh, I should say pretentious. And then another thought in my head. See, this is one of the things we do here during a stream of consciousness. And I'll get to that. That's what this is, a stream of consciousness. I said pretentious. I meant to say pretentious. I initially wanted to go, oh, I'm sorry, I mean pretentious. But then something else in my head said, and this is the weird stuff that goes on in all of our minds in the blink of an eye. Something in my head said, no, go with Frenchy or Prenchy and pretend, just don't go back to just pretend like that's something people say. Yeah, that happened. That happened in my head in the blink of an eye. The mind is such a fascinating thing. Boy, if I was 18 again and going to college, oh my God, I'd be a psychiatrist. I would so want to be a psychiatrist. I would so want to study the mind. Anyway, that's what quarter 1 is. Antecedently on this day. It's this day in history. Quarter 2 is called birthdays. Self-explanatory. Quarter 3, we call that deads. No, not self-explanatory, because we take people who died on this day throughout history, notable quotables, important people, not everybody, lots of people have died on this day. But what I mean is the ones that, have had a life, we open up their resume and we look at them and we decide they died on this day. Where did they go? Heaven or hell? Oh, that's fun. I like doing that. We turn over rocks. We turn over rocks, celebrity rocks, to find all kinds of stuff. We're like, yeah, I know you loved him, but he's going to hell, and here's why. And we find those things. Quarter 4 is the headlines, hot topics, current events. It's the driving force of the show. It's the bulk of the show. The first 3 quarters should take no more than a half hour. And then the rest of the show is just headlines. All right, let me get y'all caught up. Who's in the chat room? Let me say hi. Hi, Danny. Dustin's here. Love Dustin. Byron's here. Barney's here. Adam's here. Cameron's here. I was thinking last night. I was thinking about the chat room. I was thinking about you people in the chat room every day. The show is not, surprise, widely consumed. It is not. There's, like 40 of us watch it every day for 2.5 years. Would I like that number to be 40,000 every day? Well, of course, because then, we wouldn't have to do the whole we need money bit. But man, you dudes, you guys have I was sincerely thinking about this last night when I was laying in bed. You guys are awesome. And a round of applause for you guys. I don't see Taronda today. That's upsetting. Is Taronda okay? Did Taronda have? It's not okay. Let's keep a good thought for Taronda. Maybe she'll show up. So that's the 4 quarters. That's how the show lays out. How is it executed? Well, by me. And I'm used to. I've spent my entire radio career. Hiccups coming. I've spent my entire radio career working with ensembles, working with teams. Man, I'm so tired of that. I am so look, aren't you tired of every radio show that isn't about politics being about, like, I don't know, hey, we could be a morning zoo if we wanted to be. I just don't want to do that anymore. So this is an attempt at that. It's current events talk, just yard talk. You know, you're over the back fence talking to your neighbor. Nothing divisive. Although people might argue that I can be damn divisive. I have hot takes, folks, and you're not going to like all of them. I'm really battling hiccups. It's a stream of consciousness. It's just me talking with no breaks, no nothing. Now, that's not the kind of radio I'd like to do on terrestrial radio. I don't even know that I want to do terrestrial radio, but you know what I mean? I want to do current events, and that's what this is. But because of the circumstances being what they are, it's just me by myself. And you, my friends in the chat room, who, God, you're so important for the execution of this. I don't have anybody to talk to. I don't have any breaks. We don't have any commercials. We don't play songs. We don't do stop downs. We don't say, hey, check out who's out in the hallway. Let's invite them in and distract ourselves for a while. I don't have any of that. It's just me. It's just me. It's the day's news and you in the chat room. And a stream of consciousness. No breaks. Just me, unfiltered, just talking nonstop for 2 hours. I hope you hate this voice. Actually, no, I hope you like the voice, but you probably don't because it's not a great voice for 2 hours of nonstop streaming. Getting you caught up on yesterday, there has been no sighting of the prehistoric hellhawk who now lives in my yard. If you were with us yesterday, I told you about my dual encounters in a 24-hour period with a gigantic hawk that is just slaughtering squirrels in my backyard. I'm finding dead squirrels with holes poked through them. I thought it was the dog because the dog is the master squirrel hunter. I thought she was having a great week. But no, it's not the dog. It's a bird. It's a hellhawk. And I saw it. I saw it twice. He flew right up next. He was on the ground. All right, so no sightings of him. However, we have something weird happening here. And I've been spending all morning on well, not all morning because I was putting the show together. But I was looking up. Okay, I Google searched. Here's what I Google searched. What are these little balls of mud falling all over my house? Okay. It's the tree again. We talk about this magnificent tree that we have in the backyard. This tree is probably 300 years old. I know it gets older every time I bring it up, but it's old. It's a big ass tree. It was here when dudes were on horseback with cowboy hats. Okay. This tree is old. It's super old. It's gigantic. It's one of God's great masterpieces. It is a beautiful tree and it's a big pain in the ass. So we got these things that are falling, guys. I don't know. Is this a Texas thing? The yard is filled with these. I'm going to show you what they are. They come in two varieties, and these are two varieties of them side by side. They are all over, falling like rain from the sky. Anybody know what these are that are falling from, and it's from the tree, okay? It's like the tree shitting. I have no idea. All right, let me show you another example of it. Let me show you, okay, so this is the porch. Now, just so you know, this is a white porch, or this is a gray porch. This is a cement porch. Just picture when it's right, it's a cement porch. Look at those are the black shits from the tree that are just falling everywhere. I was doing my morning walk through the house today and it was raining. I had these black things on my sweater. I'm like, what the? So I don't know what that is. And you know what? Google doesn't know what that is either. I didn't get any really good answers. I got everything from that's the spring earthworm. What? Hold on, they just signed me out of Google. You know how they like to do that mid-show. It's the most important part of the show. It's what I use all my notes from, but they decide during the show to just sign off. Hold on. All right, we're going to get started. So if anybody in the chat room knows why my tree is pooping or what that could be, if we have any arborologists, I don't know what that's even called. Is that what is the tree? Anybody out there know anything about big crazy trees? If you can tell me. Taranda's here. I see her there now. All right, still waiting for Google to okay my sign in. Thank you, Google. Okay, we're ready. What else do I need to mention? One more thing that needs to be mentioned before we get running. That's right. We have an executive producer today. Every day we have an executive producer of the show. Today it's Big Al G. Big Al G is today's executive producer. Why? Because he tipped the show yesterday. So thank you so much for tipping the show yesterday. If you'd like to support this kind of non-divisive stream of consciousness, current events-driven hot talk, drop a little something during the show. Make my day. It helps us out. All right, let's get started. Cough to clear it out. Are you ready? All right, we're going to get into this. Let me get a drink, and then it's just going to be information. Let's go. It is the high noon rant. I am Pugs Moran. It is the 14th day of February. You know what that means. Year of our Lord 2024. It is the 45th day of the year, and there are 321 days left in this year because of leap year. That's right. It's a leap year. Happy Valentine's Day, young lovers out there. I was talking yesterday how I don't understand the anti-Valentine's Day crew. Like, I understand it. It's programming. It's because, you're lonely. You don't have someone. People who have someone, they kind of get it. Although, as I said yesterday, Valentine's Day, in all of my years, let's say 30 adult Valentines, because I didn't count the kid Valentines because that's stupid. I never got more Valentine's Day cards than when I was in 6th grade. I'm telling you, that stops. I haven't received a Valentine's Day card in 20 years. 6th grade, I'm carrying home a bag filled with them, thinking every chick in my school is a target now. I don't hate Valentine's Day, though. I just don't think, I think I probably in 30 years of Valentine's, I don't think I've celebrated it more than 5 or 6 times. Couple dinners, but and I've been married. I was married a good chunk of those. So I don't know. Maybe that's why I'm not married anymore. Maybe I should have taken Valentine's Day more seriously. Well, if you do, word to the wise. Fun fact. Are you going to get a pizza today? I'm the pizza expert. I proudly boast that I've worked at 3 of the world's finest pizza restaurants. Palermo's, Aurelio's, and Giordano's. So I am a pizza snob, and I will have I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The pizza world, the pizza industry loves Valentine's Day because of you rubes out there. Every time I had to make a Valentine's Day pizza, I'm reminded, and working the line, cooking the pizzas, doing whatever. You realize you're buying heart-shaped pizzas today, right? You realize that's a different pizza mold that we use in the kitchen. The pizza mold that we use in the kitchen, you order a large heart pizza, you are paying the price of a large pizza, but you're essentially getting a medium. You lose about 30% of the pizza with that stupid heart. But hey, you guys, go ahead. Pizza places on this day, charge the exact same amount for giving you 30% less. They love it. So, but it's cute, I guess. I guess it's cute. All right, let's get started. Q1 of, hey, what does he say? There's Big Al. Big Al said something in the chat room. I got to throw a shout out to him because he's the executive producer. Says, is anybody getting breakup pizza? Well, I don't know what breakup pizza is, but if you don't get the heart today. You're gonna have what you're gonna do. You're gonna order the same large pizza from the same pizza place. You get it all the time, and you're gonna wake up the next morning and you're gonna go, "Hey, how come we don't have any leftovers this time?" It's because you got a heart-shaped pizza, stupid. Because it's less pizza for the same price. Go ahead, have fun. All right, let's start Q1. Let's get. Hold on. What does Adam say? Adam says, when we made pizza dough, we didn't use a heart one, but I loved making and proofing the bread. Our pizza dough machine broke once, and we had to do it by hand. Like the old-timey guys. First of all, nobody does that anymore. It's all the best pizza restaurants in the world have pizza dough machines that's been perfected. You can get it perfect. It broke once and we had to do it by hand. That's hard. That's fun for the home. It's fun for you make, let's make a pizza. And then you do, but get the pre-made crusts. That's what I'm telling you. Just, you don't need to mess around. Adam, he likes to dive in. That's a big problem. Getting pizza dough, the right consistency for it to be good, it's not easy. That's why they have machines now. All right, let's get started. Q1, we call this antecedently in this day. basically a fancy way of saying on this day in history. Let's get started. Let's get you prepped up. Here are the things that happened on this day. Antecedently on this day in 1778, the United States flag is formally recognized by a foreign naval vessel for the very first time. It's the first time that the flag of the United States of America on this day is shown the proper respect from another nation. You know what nation that was? It was France. It was France. I've been fighting this battle for I don't know. When did the whole, we're calling them freedom fries because we hate the French. When did that whole bullshit start? The French are pussies. What? Said like someone who's never read history. Wow. Okay. So first of all, we owe the French basically everything. If you call yourself an American, it were the French who were they were a world power, by the way, a world power. It was the French who said, you know what? They're a real country. And on this day in 1778, it was, let's get this right, it was French Admiral Toussaint. Oh my God, he's got a freaky name. His name was French Admiral Toussaint Guillaume Piquet de la Monte. That's literally this dude's name. It must have been hard making friends with these dudes, right? Hi, I'm Tom Jefferson, and you are Toussaint Guillaume Piquet de Monte. Anyway, that admiral renders a 9-gun salute upon encountering the USS Ranger, commanded by John Paul Jones. Great day for America. No, man. Look, certainly the French can do things in modern times that makes you angry with them from a geopolitical standpoint. That's fine. But this revisionist history, we don't owe the French, man. Look, we were lucky that the French hated the English. And once we started messing with the English, the French were like, thine enemy's enemy is thine friend. So that played a big part of it. But they were there for us, man. They helped us out. The French were our friends. So just don't be so quick to rename them freedom fries. We hate the French. Stop it. Stop it. They're cool. They're our friends. No, they're not cool. That's the problem. They're not cool. Okay? They're our uncool friends. The French are our snobby friends, and they're hard to be friends with. But don't forget, man. They were there. It was on this day in 1778, antecedently, that a French admiral fired a 9-gun salute upon the passing of a United States naval vessel for the first time in history. That's cool. Antecedently on this day in 1855, Texas is linked by telegraph to the rest of the known world. Nah, that's not true. New Orleans. It was the first telegraph. Texas, through New Orleans, someone in Texas was now able to communicate almost instantly with somebody in New York because of the telegraph wires through it. It was on this day, so that's cool. On this day in 1859, Oregon is admitted as the 33rd U.S. state. Welcome to the party, the Beaver State. That's fun. They're the Beaver State. Oregon, any hot takes on Oregon? Oregon seems, well, I guess if, certain, well, but we don't do politics here. I guess if you're a certain political orientation, you don't like Portland all that much, but I don't know. Oregon seems pretty cool as a state. Seems like, okay, they're good. They don't, Portland's on Beirut up. Is it though? Maybe, I don't know. Never been. Seems nice. A lot of trees. They got bears and stuff. I don't know. Oregon, welcome to the party on this day in 1859, the 33rd state. On this day in 1876, Alexander Graham Bell applies for a patent for the telephone. Do we need to talk about Elisha Gray? Do we need to talk about Elisha Gray, the man that Alexander Graham Bell stole the technology for the first phone for? Elisha Gray and Alexander Bell applied for the same thing on the same day. Now, Elisha Gray had the patent and the copyright on a piece of equipment that Alexander Graham Bell then used in his phone and made it a phone. But Elisha Gray also had a phone, but for some reason, history has given credit to Alexander Graham Bell. Why? Because the U.S. Patent Office did. That's right. He paid him off. Alexander Graham Bell was a bad guy. Sorry. He's not a good, he's a great man. A great man. Both things can be true. You can be a great man and a bad guy. He was a great man, but Elijah Gray. Look up Elijah Gray. Highland Park, Illinois, suburb of Chicago, is where the phone was invented. And I'm going to die on that hill. I think it's spelled E-L-I-S-H-A. E-L-I-S-H-A. Gray. Seriously, that's an interesting story. It's very much like the Tesla, like Tesla and Edison. Edison stole Tesla's stuff. All right, moving on. Antecedently, on this day in 1912, Arizona is admitted as the 48th state and the last contiguous United States. Welcome to the party, Arizona. Because America needed an ashtray. I don't know, in a desert. And it just, I guess America's ashtray would be probably, I've referred jokingly to Oklahoma as America's ashtray, but I think really America's ashtray is New Mexico. Mexico looks like an ashtray, right? Like from a satellite picture, you'd be like, oh, where would I put my cigarette ash? Right there. That's New Mexico. Arizona, same thing. Not a fan of Arizona. Arizona seems like just a hotbed of just everybody there seems like their air conditioning just went out. You know what I mean? Like everybody's like, they're not super hot yet, but their air conditioning just went out and they know it's going to be forever to get a repairman and they're just constantly irritated. That to me is Arizona, but welcome to the party on this day in 1912. Antecedently on this day in 1929. Woo, this is how I choose to remember the St. Valentine's Day. By the massacre. That's right. Well, y'all know that I'm a hobbyist. I'm a Chicago outfit hobbyist. I'm more of a United States mafia hobbyist, but because I'm from Chicago, my area of specific interest is the Chicago outfit, which wasn't started by Al Capone, but certainly made famous by Al Capone as one of its biggest leaders. On this day, the St. Valentine's Day massacre occurred in Chicago. Now, this is where it was Bugs Moran, no relation, Bugs Moran, who was in charge of the North Side Irish Gang. It's weird because it was called the North Side Irish Gang because it was started by Dino Banyan, and then Dino Banyan died and it was taken over by Jaime Weiss, who was a Jew, and it was like a Jewish guy is running the Irish Gang, and then that's when Bugs Moran came into power. So, but Bugs Moran was the Pepsi to Al Capone's Coke. They hated each other and they were in an all-out war. All those romantic stories about Al Capone and his men shooting up a club. Well, it was Bugs Moran's club. They were shooting up. That's who Al Capone was fighting. And that's what happened on this day. Bunch of dudes went into a warehouse there on Clark Street. Is it Lincoln or Clark? You know what? Maybe I should, I don't know, wherever it was. They went into a warehouse. It was a meeting of the North Side Gang, and some police officers dressed as police officers walk in, line everybody up against the wall, shoot them dead. Gang. St. Valentine's Day massacre. Piece of American mafia gold right there. Never been a truly good movie about it. There's been 3 movies that I've seen about the St. Valentine's Day massacre. The first 2 were made a very long time ago, and I'd like to see it redone now because it's a great gangster flick. That would be a great gangster story about what led up to it. And anyway, moving on, antecedently on this day in 1989, Iranian leader Ruhollah Khomeini. Now, this is not the other. Remember, they had like 2 dudes right after each other, both named Khomeini. No, that's not true. The guy that took the hostages in the 80s was Khomeini, and I'm probably pronouncing these wrong. But then the guy that took his place was Khomeini. Like it was like that. It was like, what? Anyway, it was on this day that Salman Rushdie, who wrote the book The Satanic Verses, it was on this day that the Ayatollah over there put a fatwa out on his head. 1989. But it was a big story. It was like, so there's this dude in America. He's an Indian American. He's an Indian born, but he's an American citizen, Salman Rushdie, novelist, and now he's got to walk around with a fatwa on his head, which means that anybody that looks like they're from the Middle East or anybody that looks like they might be, Muslim or something, they got to kill him. They got to kill him, according to the dude in Iran. 1989. 2022 is when they finally got him. That's right. They finally got Salman Rushdie in 2020. 2022. 22. 32. 33 years later. 33 years later, they finally got him. They stabbed him in the face like 14 times. He survived. He's not great. He's about to release a book about the incident. He's blind in one eye now. He got stabbed 14 times. Got stabbed in the eye a bunch of times. Oh my God. 33 years later, you think you're safe. I mean, remember the great Seinfeld sketch where Kramer was convinced that Salman Rushdie was a member of his health club. And I don't know, was that really Salman Rushdie? It was a dude looked like him. Anyway, moving on. Antecedently on this day, the Ayatollah in Iran took out a fatwa on Salman Rushdie. What else we got here? Oh, here's a cool one. On this day in 2005, YouTube launched. Oh my God, YouTube on this day in 2005. You know what the very first YouTube video was? Well, I'm glad you asked because we're going to watch it right here. On this day in 2005, for the very first time on a new little website called YouTube. And what was it called? Yeah, it's the famous Me at the Zoo video. Here you go. The very first YouTube video ever seen. First thing ever uploaded.
Alright, so here we are in front of the elephants. The cool thing about these guys is that they have really, really long fronts, and that's cool. And that's pretty much all there is to say.
Man, how about it? Nope. YouTube got better. YouTube got way better. It was on this day in 2005 when that video is. YouTube is launched by a young group of college students, eventually becoming the largest video sharing website in the world and the main source for viral videos. I was thinking about this when I watched that video. It doesn't seem all that long ago when there was no YouTube. And now I wouldn't know what to do without YouTube. I use YouTube for everything. YouTube, Wikipedia, Google, of course. But YouTube, it's like, I've said this before. If you were to take every platform away from me, if you were to say you can only watch content on one thing, I'd pick YouTube. For obvious reasons. There's constantly new stuff being uploaded. It's got everything. But I'm talking about like Netflix. If they said, well, look, you can keep either Netflix or YouTube, I'd be like, YouTube all day. It doesn't matter. Anyway, on this day, that was cool. That was a cool video, I guess. Antecedently on this, oh Jesus. Okay, so I need to bring down the mood here because these. I wanted to point these last two out because they both happened fairly recently. But guys, throughout history, we talked about the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, okay? And that's a good example of another one, a famous one. Guys, this is a massacre day. There have been, going all the way back. I didn't list them all because I don't list all the events, but going all the way back to like the medieval Europe, ancient Greece, massacres. This is a day for massacres, okay? We already talked about the St. Valentine's Day one. There's a number of other ones that occurred all over. The genocide, some genocide started on this day in like 1972. Whatever. It's a crazy day for that. So this is why we go through the antecedently stuff, because we look for rhythms and patterns. We're like, is there any one sort of thing that happens on the same day? This happens with weather a lot. Well, it's a tornado week. We're going to have a lot of tornadoes to report throughout history on this day. This is a massacre day. This is a day for massacres. On this day in 2008, Northern Illinois University, a gunman opens fire on a lecture hall at Northern Illinois University in DeKalb, Illinois. 21 injuries, 6 fatalities, including the gunman. On this day in 2018, a shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida is one of the deadliest school massacres, 17 fatalities, 17 injured. So those are just the two most recent ones. But you add that to, the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, the genocide of Haitian villagers in 1972, the medieval slaughter of the Jews. I didn't mention this one. This was a day when every Jew in the city of Cologne was murdered. And I laugh because it's so unfathomable that my natural reaction is to find some way not to just die at the thought of that. Wow. It's a massacre day, so stay frosty. All right, now, antecedently on this day is over. That's quarter one. So now we move into a quick run through of the birthdays. These are the notable quotables celebrating their birthday on this day, or so they claim. Born on this day in Born on this day in 1894. Jack Benny, a legend of TV, one of the funniest guys of all time, an absolute genius. Jack Benny was another one of these guys who was standing close to a camera when there were only 3 cameras in the world. And so they turned the camera on him, and all of a sudden he became one of the biggest stars ever. I don't know if Jack Benny was actually talented. Here's what I do know. A lot of very old people from my life think Jack Benny was really talented, but not one of those people ever saw Dave Chappelle. So I don't know. I like Jack Benny. Is he great? Ugh. Is this like a Beatles situation where people who don't understand music, where they say stuff like, I think the Beatles are overrated. Their songs sound like everybody else. Yeah, their songs sound like everybody else because they did them first. Jesus. Anyway, maybe that's what I'm going through with Jack Benny. Like, I don't truly appreciate it, but I do kind of understand that Jack Benny was one of the first dudes on TV when nobody was on TV, so there was no expectation. And, you know, anything short of him just crapping in his hand and throwing at the audience was seen as innovative. And I'm not a completely, like, I don't think everybody's bad. Like, that's not true. I'll give you 2 examples of people who I think are geniuses from that era. Are you ready? Ernie Kovacs and Steve Allen. Both of those guys are absolute innovators who were doing really cool, interesting stuff that would have been interesting today. I just don't think Jack Benny was one of them. Born on this day in 1894. Born on this day in 1913. Oh my God, we're going to rattle off 3 umbilical triplets. That's right. These are people who were born on the exact same day of the exact same year who would each go on to some form of notoriety. Born on this day in 1913, the voice of baseball, if you're an old head like me, Mel Allen. How about that? Isn't that his thing? Isn't that what he said? This Week in Baseball. If you grew up in the 70s and 80s and were a kid obsessed with baseball, you watched This Week in Baseball every Saturday morning. And Mel Allen was your voice. Also born on this day in 1913, along with Mel Allen. How about Woody Hayes, huh? Great Ohio State coach. I don't know. Was he a great coach? He was there a long time. Maybe he was good. He punched a player on national TV. One of the earliest examples of getting canceled for doing something that you didn't know was wrong. He had no idea. What do you mean I can't punch another team's linebacker in the face when he comes over to my sideline? He had a helmet on. That's what happened to Woody Hayes. Like, he had all of these years. He's like this great. He would be an exalted Bear Bryant type if he didn't. But he was like Woody Hayes' not Woody Hayes'. Yeah. No, this is Woody Hayes. Bo Schembechler. That's what it was. It was the great Woody Hayes, Bo Schembechler battles of that era. All right, moving on. The 3rd triplet in the Mel Allen, Woody Hayes umbilical triplet thing. Jimmy Hoffa, ladies and gentlemen. Jimmy Hoffa, union boss, went missing. Been a bunch of movies about him. There's been so many movies and so many believable theories as to what happened to Jimmy Hoffa. I have no idea. I know for a fact the mafia was involved. I know that, but I don't know which family. I don't know if it was Cleveland. I don't know if it was Chicago. I don't know if it was one of the 5 families in New York. I have no idea. It had to do with Las Vegas. I know that. Had to do with the union, the Teamsters Union pension fund being used to build Vegas casinos. I know it had to do with that, but I don't know. Jimmy Hoffa, great American? I don't know. Born on this day in 1913, along with his umbilical cousins, Woody Hayes and Mel Allen. Born on this day in 1929, happy birthday to the dead Vic Morrow. Vic Morrow's dead. Vic Morrow died a hero. Died in a chopper crash in Vietnam. No, actually, he died as an actor pretending that he was in a chopper crash in Vietnam. Vic Morrow was an actor. He died on the set of the Twilight Zone film, which was a John Landis film from the 1980s. It was the Twilight Zone. If you're familiar with the TV series, it was like 3 different storylines, or 4 or 5. I don't know, whatever it was. But in one of them, Vic Morrow was a guy who walks out of a bar and is instantly transported back to the jungles of Vietnam. And, you know, so he steps out of this bar in a city drunk, and all of a sudden, and you're seeing people with, you know, straw hats running around. And they were filming at night, and the helicopter really did crash, and the blade killed Vic Morrow, and that's how he died. And so happy birthday to Vic Morrow. You know, by the way, I was singing the praises of his daughter just the other day. His daughter is just quietly becoming one of America's great actresses. Jennifer Jason Leigh is the daughter of Vic Morrow. She's great. How about happy birthday to Florence Henderson, Ma Brady? There's some sex stories about Florence Henderson that are out there in Hollywood. She was a party girl, just saying. Happy birthday, Florence Henderson. Sinatra had her. I'm just saying. Joe Namath had her. A lot of people claim to have, been where Mike Brady, we now know, certainly didn't want to go. All right. Happy birthday, Florence Henderson. Born on this day in 1944. How about Alan Parker? Apex filmmaker Alan Parker. Ladies and gentlemen, whenever we run across a filmmaker who I have great admiration for, we like to do movie draft. That's right. We're going to be drafting in the style of the NFL. 5 best films, a 5-round draft, the 5 best films from director Alan Parker. First one is the number 1 overall pick. Are you ready? The first overall pick in the Alan Parker draft, The Commitments. Could have gone with any number of things. This Alan Parker draft, he's got a couple of movies in the invites we do. We do 5-round draft. We pick 5 movies, and then we say, but he also made these movies, so we're going to invite them to camp and give them a look at. He's got movies that are getting invited to camp off this draft that other people might have as like their number 1 draft pick. I don't know. I just love Alan Parker movies. Number 1, The Commitments. I don't know if you ever saw that. It's a bunch of like Irish drunks who form a blues band, and they're really good. They're like a really good blues band. Number 2, Alan Parker draft, Mississippi Burning. I love that movie. Gene Hackman. Number 3 in the Alan Parker draft. I've talked about this before. This is that movie that, remember I say I was a little kid. I was into like weird movies. I don't know why, like movies a little kid shouldn't be into. I've talked about the film Shoot the Moon before. Just talked about it last week. I think it was Albert Finney's birthday or something. Shoot the Moon is an Alan Parker film from like 1983, starring Albert Finney and Diane Keaton. And they're a nice family, and they're going through a divorce. And for some damn reason, I love that movie. I should never have seen it. It shouldn't have been interesting to me, but it was. And like I said, I watched that movie, Shoot the Moon, a couple of years ago, and I was like, God damn it, thing holds up. I still like it. Shoot the Moon, number 3 in the Alan Parker draft. Number 4, Pink Floyd, The Wall, bitches. Yeah. Come on, we've all seen it. We've all been to a high school party where Pink Floyd, The Wall came on. Alan Parker. Number 4, Pink Floyd, The Wall. Number 5 is going to be Bugsy Malone. Bugsy Malone is a movie, another weird Alan Parker movie. He makes weird movies, cool movie. He makes good movies and weird movies, interesting movies. We'll call them interesting. So Bugsy Malone was the gangster movie that he made in the early 1970s where he cast children, where it was just all children. It starred Scott Baio and Jodie Foster, and they were both like 9. They were both like just little kids playing a gangster and his girlfriend. Bugsy Malone. I made my son watch it when he was like 6 or 7 years old, and he loved it. He was like, this is crazy. I go, I know. It's fun. Alan Parker's Bugsy Malone. That concludes the 5-round Alan Parker draft. Number 1, The Commitments. Number 2, Mississippi Burning. Number 3, Shoot the Moon. Number 4, Pink Floyd, The Wall. Number 5, Bugsy Malone. Well, we are, as I mentioned, inviting a couple of films to try out. We're going to get some free agent camp invites here. How about Fame? I'm going to live forever. How about Midnight Express? Man, Midnight Express. Woo! I love that movie. I don't love the entire movie. I love scenes from that movie. The scene on the Midnight Express is the story of a dude who tries to smuggle heroin out of Pakistan. Is it Pakistan or wherever? He's an American college student. He's got a backpack filled with cocaine, maybe heroin. It's heroin. And he's on the plane and he's getting ready to come back to America and he's got it. And all of a sudden he sees that music starts playing, the Midnight Express music. And he's sitting in the airplane and he's looking out the window and he sees all these Pakistani military police heading towards the plane. Oh my God. Midnight Express is so good. Here's what's not good about it. There's an extended chunk of the film depicts him living in a Turkish prison, and it is not fun, and it's not for me. So I love Midnight Express. It's going to get a camp invite. How about Angel Heart? Angel Heart, also from Adam Parker, getting a camp invite. Do you guys remember Angel Heart? Mickey Rourke, Robert De Niro, Lisa Bonet. Robert De Niro played the devil, Louis Cypher. Woo! Angel Heart was freaky. And also Evita. We're going to bring in Evita because I like Evita. Evita, Evita. That concludes our Alan Parker draft. All right. Born on this day, celebrating a birthday in 1948. How about Pat O'Brien? Pat O'Brien, he's the entertainment reporter, entertainment this month or whatever. I don't know. He's Access Hollywood. Is that what he is? I don't know what he is. He used to do football. Like in the 80s, Pat O'Brien did football. He was a football guy and like a play-by-play guy. Like, I'm Pat O'Brien and I'm John Madden. You know, it was Pat O'Brien was a football guy. And then he started doing entertainment stuff like in the 90s and became huge. He became like, I'm Pat O'Brien. It's sort of like a poor man's Matt Lauer kind of a vibe on him, you know, but he had a mustache, non-threatening, right? Like he's the kind of guy you put on a sweater to tell housewives about, you know, what's going on with their favorite soap opera. He's that guy, mustache. Like men look at him and go, yeah, I ain't worried about him. He ain't gonna steal my wife. Yeah, that was his whole thing. Non-threatening, nice, good guy. Flanders. He's Ned Flanders. Come on. He's Ned Flanders. No. Remember what happened to him? Remember when he got canceled? Another early example of being canceled. He was apparently a huge cokehead. And he liked prostitutes and he liked crazy sex and he liked things being done to him in sex. And what he did was he apparently started hounding this woman for like crazy sex and all that kind of stuff. And he left a bunch of voicemails. You guys want to hear the Pat O'Brien voicemails? What was the last time you heard these? All right, let's listen. These are the voicemail message that Pat O'Brien left. He's talking about getting hookers and blow, and it's hysterical. By the way, I'm not judging. I don't like hookers, and I've done blow. I can't. Oh God, I couldn't imagine having that now. So I'm not judging, but man, he seemed like he was way into it. All right, here you go. Here's Pat O'Brien. A little hard to listen, little hard to hear, I guess, but I'll do the best I can. Again, Pat O'Brien leaving voice messages for a woman he's trying to hook up with. Fun parts of this. He starts to tell her what he wants her to do to him, and then he says what he's going to do to her. And then at some point here, and I don't know if we'll get to all of it because it's 5.5 minutes of bad audio quality, but at some point he goes, and maybe you could get some hookers and some blow and we can do that thing we did again. It's just crazy.
Go crazy with you. So, I want to fucking go crazy with you. To copy this message to another person, press 6. To delete this message and go to the next, press 7. To keep the saved message, Sunday, 7:09 p.m. You are so fucking hot. And I want to eat you. I don't want you to suck my cock.
Oh, no, thank you.
I don't want my girlfriend to eat you. So fucking hot. You are fucking hot. Let's do it. You are so fucking hot. Please leave me a voicemail. Go to the bathroom and leave me a voicemail. Bye. To copy the saved message, Sunday, 7:48 p.m. I'm so fucking into you. But Betsy's so jealous. But
all right. So Betsy's his wife. Betsy's so jealous that he's so into her. Did you note the time on this? 7:48 on a Sunday. Was this during the football season? Because he's a big football guy. So I've been there. I've been like shit-faced at 7:48 on a Sunday because you watched both games. Because maybe you got to the bar at 11 because the Bears were playing at noon and then the Cowboys were on at 3. And now all of a sudden, you stay through 60 minutes and all of a sudden the 7 o'clock game is starting. You're deciding maybe you're going to have a little something to eat because you've been drinking all day. And then you think, hey, I wonder whose bed I can sleep in. I've been there. I don't blame him, but he's leaving voice messages mentioning his wife and stuff.
Let's fucking have sex, and I want to lick your pussy and suck your tits. But you have to be into Betsy. I told Betsy that you're into her. And if you get this message, just look at me and say yes. But I want to fucking lick your pussy and make you come.
Okay,
so
I don't need
much.
All right, I didn't remember it being.
I want you badly. I know you want me. But you have to be into Betsy too. So when you get this message, if you agree.
Okay. I really want you and I know you want me, but you have to be into Betsy too. Okay, so they're swinger wife couple.
Yeah.
Okay. We're listening
To
to
copy
Pat.
saved message Sunday 7:51 p.m.
So fucking hot.
He's in a bar. He's in a bar. He's been watching football all day. He called it 7:48. Now he's calling again at 7:51. He's in a bar. He's horny.
Just look at it. If you agree with anything I've said, just say yes to me. Or wink. I want to fucking go crazy with you. Drive you nuts.
Okay. All right.
To copy saved message Sunday 8:34 p.m.
All right. So now this is 34, 44, like 46 minutes after that last call.
Hey, it's me. I'm so fucking into you. And you have to pay attention to Betsy, but let's have fun.
Keep saying the same.
I want to fucking eat you and fuck you and
God, stop it.
lick your ass.
No.
Check this message, and then just kids can watch us. Let's just fucking have fun. I'm so. And kids can watch us. Let's just fucking have fun. I'm so fucking. And you're so fucking hot. And I don't do this for a living. It's just like new to me. But I want to fucking make you crazy.
Okay.
To copy saved message Sunday 9:04 p.m.
Hey, it's me. You're so
Hey, it's me, the guy that's been leaving you obscene messages for the last 2 hours. What's up?
fucking hot. It's just like all of a sudden, not into it, but the three of us to get together, I want to fucking suck your pussy.
No.
Watch you and Betsy eat each other
No.
out of your face. Get another woman up. Hire a hooker. Let's get crazy. Get some coke. So you get this message.
All right. All right. That's what I was looking for. That's the one I remember. Let's get crazy. Let's get some hookers. Let's get some coke. Okay. Happy birthday, Pat O'Brien. We didn't forget, but I'm not judging. I'm just saying this humiliation will never go away. Pat O'Brien, born on this day in 1948, born on this day in 1957. How about Ken Wall? Ken Wall's another guy, a flash in the pan. You don't remember who he was. Why would you? He was the star of Wise Guy. You remember Wise Guy? Wise Guy was a show on CBS. He was also one of the stars of the Lords of Flatbush. I remember the Lords of Flatbush. He was from my neighborhood. And when he was doing Wise Guy, he hung out at a bar that all my friends worked at called the Heartthrob Cafe. And we would go to this bar, underage, by the way. We were like 18, 19 years old. My friend Tony was a bartender there. He used to get us in. My friend Tim was the doorman, so it wasn't really hard. They just snuck us in. They just let us walk in. Guys see an ID? We'd show them a high school ID, and they'd go, looks good to me, and we'd go through. That's how it was. No rules, very few back in the 80s. So we'd go to this bar, and they'd be like, hey, the dude from Wise Guy, Ken Wall, is here again. Let me tell you about what Ken Wall would do. And this was over the course of an entire summer. So this is probably like the summer of 1987, maybe not, yeah, 87, 88. Ken Wall, movie star who was from the neighborhood, would sit at this bar and just one after another, drink, not talk to anybody. Nobody bothered him. He just power drank for like 5 hours every single night at this bar, this little club in a mall in Orland Park, Illinois. CBS TV star, right? It was weird. Every single night, this son of a bitch, my friend Tony, who was the bartender, he was like, it's amazing. I've never seen anything like it. I guess this is what happens when you get a TV show. Every single night he walked out of there with the hottest girl in the bar. And every night it was a different girl. And on most nights, the girl he went home with the night before was there again. And he just walked out with somebody else. And everybody just went, well, he's Ken Wall, a movie star. His career went nowhere. You know why? Turns out he was a really bad alcoholic. Well, I saw it firsthand with my own eyes. Yeah, he got into a terrible motorcycle accident. He had to leave the show wise guy, and then he couldn't walk for like 5 years. It's a really sad story about what alcoholism will do. But let me tell you something. We'll leave it at this about Ken Wall on his birthday. I have never in my life seen a more attractive male human than Ken Wall. Ken Wall in real life is like, I get it. Oh, Jesus. Talk about, and that's probably why he was allowed to walk out of that damn bar with the hottest girl every single night. Poor guy. Anyway, moving on. Jim Kelly, born on this day in 1960. He is a guy who lost 4 Super Bowls in a row. He's very good. We like Jim Kelly in this house. Born on this day in 1968, Jules Asner. Do you guys remember Jules Asner? Oh, man, I used to love Jules. I had such a crush on Jules Asner. Who's Jules Asner? She was one of the E. Remember in the late 80s, early 90s, maybe even the mid 80s when E was like a news channel? It was like CNN, but it was E News, and it was all like, entertainment news and stuff, just nonstop. I used to watch a lot of that when I was a kid. And they had all of these like really pretty news anchor girls, and Jules Asner was one of them. Todd Newton was another one. Oh, I hated Todd Newton. I don't know. You guys Google search Todd Newton. You'll all be like, I remember that guy. That's an ass clown. Katie Wagner. Katie Wagner was another one. So, but really, Jules Asner and Katie Wagner were the two that I liked best, but I really like Jules Asner. Katie Wagner, by the way, Katie Wagner was the daughter of Natalie Wood and Robert Wagner. So, she was easy on the eyes. And then, of course, Jules Asner, Ed Asner's daughter-in-law. Ed Asner had nothing genetically to do with the magnificence that is Jules Asner. She was great. I loved her. She was nice. She seemed, she was so pretty. But then Jules Asner is one of these people who just disappear off the face of the earth. I talk about this a lot. A lot of hey, remember the girl who was Adam Sandler's girlfriend in Happy Madison? Whatever happened to her? Well, I'll tell you what happened to her. She ended up marrying someone very famous, and now she's the quiet former actress wife of Steven Spielberg, or you know what I mean? Something like that. That's what happened to Jules Asner. Jules Asner disappeared because she hit the money pot. She was the E! Entertainment News girl, and she is now Mrs. Steven Soderbergh. So she's done fine. Although I do want to look at her. Let's take a look at Jules Asner, shall we? Let's see what she's looking like today. God, I had such a crush on her. Here we go. All right, Jules Asner. Let's see. It's going to be Jules Asner. Is this going to be Jules Asner? Oh, I guess it's going to be Jules Asner and Steven Soderbergh because nobody knows who Jules Asner is anymore. Yeah, you look for a picture of Jules Asner today, and it's just her walking red carpets with her super famous husband. All right, here you go. Boom. Look at her. 57-year-old Jules Asner right there. Looking good. Any other pictures of her? All right. Steven Soderbergh, Jules, look good. She's so pretty. Look at that smile. I remember Jules Asner. All right, we need to be done with this. She was adorable. She was a Gen X princess. And now, and she just disappears and we all forget about her. And now on her birthday, we bring her back. Born on this day in 1970. How about Simon Pegg? How great is he? Nick Frost and Simon Pegg. Shaun of the Dead. At World's End. Star Trek. Simon Pegg. Great filmmaker. Born on this day in 1972. How about Rob Thomas? Rob Thomas. I artificially despise Rob Thomas because my partner Kelly loved him. I say artificially despised because I got no real reason to dislike him other than she was so in love with him. Somebody needed to be the counterbalance. So I took the position of Matchbox 20 is terrible, and I stand by it. But happy birthday, Rob Thomas. Rob Thomas, born on this day in 1972. Born on this day in 1973, here's a sad one, Steve McNair. Steve McNair. I hope he's not forgotten. You know, we live in the era of the accepted and encouraged and, in fact, desired, in my case, black quarterback. Black quarterback wasn't a thing in the NFL for a whole lot of years because, you know, if you asked someone from the greatest generation, they'd tell you that the quarterback, the black quarterback, doesn't have the mental capacity to really be that. That's what they actually thought. You know, they got the extra muscles in their body, which is why they're so good at dancing, but also it's why they're better as wideouts. That was the popular belief. And then, you know, I mean, how many amazing black athletes would have been like we never even know about Sonny Jorgensen if like Elroy Patterson was allowed to play back in 1955. I'm just saying. Anyway, Steve McNair deserves credit, and I hope he's not forgotten because not only was Steve McNair one of the earliest black quarterbacks, not the first, certainly not the last, not the first good one, you know, not the first. He was the first MVP though. He's the first black MVP of the NFL. That's quite an accomplishment because when you win the MVP, all of a sudden it's like you're not a fluke. It's not a system. You're actually the most valuable player. Steve McNair did that. And, you know, we went to a Super Bowl, all-pro a couple of times. You know, I mean, a very good, very solid career. Died tragically. He died when his girlfriend shot and killed him while he slept on her couch. A couch in an apartment that he had paid for, that he was paying for. 2000, when did Steve McNair die? Let me see, does it say date of his death? 2009. That was 2009 when Steve McNair, Tennessee Titans quarterback, was shot and killed by he was retired. But all right, there you go. That's going to do it for birthdays. Let's do the deads. These are the people who've died on this day. These are the people who claim Alcorn State. Is that where Steve McNair went? Just for some reason, it's like I was thinking, didn't he go to some weird small school? And I was thinking Cheney State, but then I think it's Alcorn State. And he was like a top 5 pick in the draft. I remember him. He was a big pick in the draft. I don't know exactly where. I think they were probably the Houston Texans at that time. I don't know where they were picking. I imagine pretty high up. So anyway, he was a high draft pick. I know that. All right. Steve McNair died way too young. Let's do the deads. These are the people who died on this day. And these are, we're going to send them to either heaven or hell. James Cook died on this day in 1779. James Cook, we're putting him in hell. He's otherwise known as Captain James Cook. You know how Captain James Cook died? Captain James Cook is the colonizer who basically landed in Hawaii, went, this place is great, but let's get rid of all of the rodents, and just basically tried to conquer that proud nation of people. I don't know if they were proud. I don't know what they were, but whatever. He went over there and he tried to do his thing. And so during like the course of like Cook trying to colonize Hawaii, he one of his boats, like a sailing boat, got stolen, and it got stolen by one of the natives. And so James Cook, Captain Cook, sent him and like a bunch of armed dudes went to the shore, and they went to the king. I don't know, let's call him King Kamanawanalea. I don't know if that's, So he goes to King Kamanawanalea and he goes, "You're under arrest. One of your people stole our boat." Just the arrogance with their guns and everything. And King Kamanawanalea, not sure if that's his real name or not, looked at Captain Cook and went, and they killed him. Yeah, they killed Captain Cook for walking into the king's lair and demanding that he come with them. They were trying. He actually, history says that Cook actually arrested the king, and like his armed guards had the king and was leading him to the beaches when all the Hawaiian soldiers, king subjects, they all showed up and went, "Yeah, no," and that's how Captain James Cook died. So burn in hell, you idiots. Dummy. Think of that arrogance. Well, we're just going to go and arrest that king. What? You can't do that, dummy. And you paid with your arrogant British life. On this day in 1891, William Tecumseh Sherman died. William Tecumseh Sherman. Yesterday, we talked about Omar Bradley. Of course, we know about Omar Bradley, great American general. I've mentioned before that I'm a bit of an American general fetishist. Bradley and the Bradley fighting vehicle. Well, Sherman tank. Yeah, William Tecumseh Sherman. So you know that I have this Grant thing where I'm like, Grant's my favorite general because he just got loaded, jumped on a horse and said, let's go. Like that's Grant, and I liked him. Sherman was actually a strategist. Sherman was a better boardroom general. Sherman was kind of a monster, and we're putting him in hell. Sherman had absolutely no regard for the South whatsoever. It was Sherman who did the scorched earth battles where everything burned. Atlanta, burn it. New Orleans, burn it. It's all that. That was William Tecumseh Sherman. He had absolutely zero regard for the health, welfare, or safety of the Southern citizen. And, you know, he's history remembers him as a monster. So he's going to hell. William Tecumseh Sherman. Dead on this day in 1999. Take a look at this guy, John Ehrlichman. John Ehrlichman was I had to find a quote from him. I had to look this up specifically because John Ehrlichman is a bad guy. John Ehrlichman was one of the Great Wall, they used to call it, that insulated President Nixon from inquiries regarding Watergate. John Ehrlichman began in the Nixon administration as a was he a legal advisor? I think he was legal counsel to the president, but then he eventually would become the guy in charge of domestic affairs. John Dean famously would replace John Ehrlichman as special counsel to the president. John Ehrlichman and H.R. Haldeman, they were the two dudes that were considered the Great Wall. Ehrlichman was a bad guy. He was a really bad guy. But and he went to jail. You know, he one of the masterminds behind Watergate and the cover-up and all that stuff. And he knew about the tapes and the erasing of the tapes and all that stuff. So that's Ehrlichman. Ehrlichman was a bad guy. He was a arch politician, skeevy, lying, cheating, that kind of thing. He went to jail. He did his time. But he famously had a quote about the drug war. He spoke after getting out of prison and having absolutely nothing else to lose. He began speaking about Nixon's drug war, and the drug war that we hopefully are kind of out of, or at least moving away from, as general sentiment in this country acknowledges that was a losing proposition. Well, it was Nixon's drug war. It was started. And so I've always been interested in the origins of how the demonization of marijuana and just, people doing drugs, how did that demonization really get jump-started? And it was because of the Nixon administration. And John Ehrlichman, dead on this day, who we're putting in hell, this quote doesn't change it, but he explained. I found it. I actually went and found it. So this is from John Ehrlichman from Harper's Magazine in 1986, okay? No, I'm sorry. This is from 2016. So this was Ehrlichman. This is what he had to say about Nixon and the drug war and why we went through 60 years and why families were destroyed and why people went to jail for having because it's the third time they were caught with a joint in their back pocket. They have to go to jail forever. Remember those? Remember the drug war and the 3 strikes rules and all of that? And okay. So here's his explanation for it. This is where that all started. John Ehrlichman is the guy as the domestic policy czar for the president of the United States. John Ehrlichman claims credit and then explains exactly why the drug war in the United States started. Here he is from Harper's Magazine. He says, "You want to know what this was really all about?" he asked, with the bluntness of a man who, after public disgrace and a stretch in federal prison, had very little left to protect. He went on to say, the Nixon campaign in 1968 and the Nixon White House after that had 2 enemies, the anti-war left and black people. You understand what I'm saying? We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or black, but by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and the blacks to the heroin trade, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities. We could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did. John Ehrlichman, there you go. He's still going to hell. But that's the guy who advised Nixon to begin what we now know as the war on drugs. And he's saying why he advised Nixon to do it. Well, I looked at our enemies and I said, how do we get the hippies and the blacks both in trouble? Well, they all like drugs. Come on. So I think we all know. I think, as recently as a couple of years ago, there were still people who were like, well, no, it's important for this war on drugs because we've got stuff coming over the border. Shut up. All right, there you have it. That's it. He's going to hell. Everybody's going to hell. It's everybody going to hell kind of day around here. Who do we got in the chat room? Let's say hi to the people in the chat room, shall we? What do we got? We're going to move now into the fourth quarter of today's show, which is all the hot topics, current events, and headlines. Peter's here. He says he's late, but he's here. That's okay. You are accounted for, my guy. April Michelle, third overall. She's saying third overall for Stephen McNair. Very cool. Elkhorn State. What is April? What is April, like the biggest Steve McNair fan on the planet? Eddie Haggerty reminds us that Jimmy the Greek got in trouble for talking about black athletes. Yeah, he sure did. He was all comfortable. He's had a couple of drinks. He's at like some luncheon at like 3:00 in the afternoon in Washington, D.C., and people are treating him like he's Jimmy the Greek, and he's loving it because he's a bit of a narcissist. I'll tell you about the black athlete. There was a lot of that going on back then. You had Al Campanis on Nightline. Well, the reason that the black man can't swim, he like went with the whole they can't swim thing. All right, let's get into the next part of the show. Once again, I will remind you that this show, a non-divisive current events-driven hot talk show, runs on your support. So if you are so inclined, drop a little something to keep this show going. 2.5 years and counting. Help us out as we move into quarter four. Well, I should plug this in. I don't need to. Quarter four is all the things that are happening today. So let's run through the hot topics, right? Let's go through them. Told you everything that did happen today, the events and the births and the deaths. Now let's talk about what is happening. Mayorkas, which again, I maintain sounds like a lovely vacation destination. Where did you spend your honeymoon? Well, we went to Mayorkas. Sounds like it. I don't know. Has he got a first name? Orcus Mayorkas. I don't know whoever this guy is. He's in charge of the pretend government tax sinkhole that we created called the Department of Homeland Security, something that we never needed, but we decide. I mean, you know what happened there, right? All of our heavily funded intelligence organizations failed because they didn't talk to each other, because they were constantly in competition to try and kiss ass for who's our fair-haired boy this week. Is it the NSA? No, it's the CIA. No, it's the DEA. No, right? So they never talked to each other. And instead of just firing everybody involved with the culture that created that mess that didn't serve the United States taxpayer, no, instead of doing that, we just created a giant sinkhole, a brand new organization that we called the National or Homeland Security, right? Originally, it was the National Defense Front. They had a couple of names for them, and some of them sounded very Nazi. And so they settled with Homeland Security. Didn't exist. It's not a thing that needs to exist, okay? We already have all the organizations in place. What the Department of Homeland Security is, and by the way, it's a massive tax sinkhole. What it is just a room where everybody comes and reports stuff to one person. Now, maybe that's important, but it's only important if the system that it supports is broken. And the system is broken. The CIA's got to talk, the FBI, they all got to talk to each other. They all got to stop Department of Homeland Security. So now here we are, 20 years later. It's been around for 20 years. It was formed after 9/11. So here we are 20 years later, and now we're impeaching this guy who's in charge of this pretend organization that doesn't do anything. It doesn't matter. It's purely political, just like all the impeachments of the last 50 years of American politics. It's not going to be confirmed by the second house of the Senate. So whatever. So we have that. Santos, remember that guy? He was a congressman from New York, and then they kicked him out. So that means there's nobody sitting in that seat. So they had a special election in New York 3rd last night to fill the seat of Santos. And the Dems flipped it. Whatever, they're excited about that. Here's the thing. The Dems are all excited about flipping that seat. And by the way, when I say the Dems, I don't say that with any more disdain than I say the GOP. You know me. I hate them both equally. The Dems are acting like this is a great victory. And it might be, I guess they're trying to fundraise. It's an election year. Everybody's trying to fundraise. So they're like, this is a huge thing for us. We flipped the seat. And I'm like, hey, Wasn't that seat yours for like 80 years before Santos? So you didn't really gain anything. You just got something back. Isn't that more the truth of what's happening here? Santos was the one who flipped the seat. That was a solidly blue New York seat. So I don't know. Anyway, it was won by some dude I never heard of, and some dude that if he does his job well, we will never hear from again. Remember, the worst congressmen are the ones you know, because you're not supposed to know who congressmen are because there's like 6 million of them. You're not supposed to know who they are. The ones who you know are the ones that are terrible at their job because they're only there to get on TV. And that's how you in Texas know who the New York rep from Staten Island or whatever, wherever Ocasio-Cortez is, or how I know who the dude from the Florida 15th is. That's that Gates guy. I shouldn't know anything about him. You've never heard of my congresswoman in Chicago, where I'm still registered to vote. I'm switching that over too, by the way. In Chicago, where I'm registered to vote, you've never heard of my congresswoman. Never heard of her because she's not a troublemaker, because she just does good shit. Robin Kelly. I like Robin Kelly. She doesn't get involved in any nonsense. That's a real congressperson. All right, moving forward here. Santos seat, we covered that. You guys, you see this happening in Austin yesterday? There was a car accident at a hospital in Austin. Some incredible video. We'll watch this. Now, I haven't seen the video all the way through because, I'm just warning you. If you don't, I don't know what's in this video. I don't know if there's any real gore or anything. I don't know. Because there were a couple of, like when I was watching the video, whenever they would seem to start to show maybe somebody who was injured, I turned my face away. So we're going to show it anyway because it's pretty compelling stuff. This was in Austin. This was last night. Here it is. Let me see if we pull this up. All right, here's the video. and this must be just like seconds after this car came crashing through the hospital entrance. And I guess is this a waiting room or something like this? Anyway, here's the video. It's pretty compelling stuff, man. Oof. All right. All right, here's the headline, just as we watch through this. Horror car slams into Austin, Texas hospital, leaving 1 dead and 5 injured, with horror pics of crumpled wheelchairs and debris covering the ER. Look at that dude. That dude's just checking out of the hospital. He's just got his stuff in a bag. He got drunk the night before and cracked his head on a curb. And now he's just trying to go home. And this is what he's walking. With his ponytail. This isn't funny. I don't want to watch it like it's funny. So we're going to move on. Once again, 5 injured, 1 dead. I don't know who's dead. Who's dead? Is it the driver? Did the driver die? And what was happening here? Horrific photos show a crumpled wheelchair and debris covering the lobby after a crash at St. David's North Hospital in Austin, Texas. Too many pictures. I don't care about the pictures. I don't want to see the pictures. 1 person was killed in the crash, and others were rushed to another hospital. Why'd you rush them to another hospital? You're at a hospital. Why doesn't that seem... I'm not going to question. It's a terrible story. The Austin Fire Department and Austin Travis County EMS raced to the hospital at 5:38 p.m. on Tuesday and quickly declared a level 4 mass casualty with 20 to 49 patients. A paramedic was giving 1 person CPR when first responders got there, and medical personnel started triage as they rushed to help the wounded. Authorities said at an 8 p.m. news conference that the driver was pulled from the wrecked car and died in the emergency room. So the person dead is the driver. So they didn't just run over anybody. So I wonder, right? Okay. So let's think about this. Was the driver having a medical emergency? Because just simply driving your car through the entrance to a hospital shouldn't kill you. Shouldn't kill you. Maybe, you get hurt, you break an arm, break a leg, something like that, some glass in your face. But driving a car through the entrance of like what we saw there, that should not kill a human being. This person must have been having a medical emergency, which would explain everything. It would explain why the car came cascading through. He was probably rushing himself to the hospital. I don't know, but what a terrible story that is. All right, down there in Austin, car slams into a hospital. We got a little more information now on the Lakewood shooter. That was the 36-year-old woman who brought her kid to Joe Olstein's church on Sunday. She walked in. She remember the description. She had a long gun, a trench coat, a backpack. She had Palestine written on the handle of the gun. It was just prior to a 2 p.m. Sunday Spanish language service, so people thought maybe that could factor in. She walked in. She started spraying a funny substance on the ground. She then grabbed a gun and started shooting, at which point two plainclothed, off-duty police officers who were working security for the church, one a Houston police officer and the other a TABC guy, they returned fire. She was killed. The kid was struck, the 7-year-old kid, her son, we now know is her son. He was struck in the head, we now know. But we're learning a little bit more about her from her mother-in-law. Remember, there was like she hated Jews. Remember, that was the thing. She's doing this because she hates Jews, which explains maybe Palestine written on the butt of the gun. But why is she attacking a Christian church? I don't get that, right? Like, why that? I don't know. But again, like I said yesterday, we established yesterday that this lady is batshit crazy. She's nuts. She's like that. So anything, her motivation shouldn't matter because we're like, well, it doesn't matter. She's crazy. The jumping off point is this person is crazy. Therefore, anything they think, say, or do, you need to go, they're crazy. So she's crazy. Also, I only saw this reported the one place that she was a trans person. I don't know, man. And now I don't want to put that out there because that's a volatile subject. So I don't know. I saw, we read that yesterday, that she didn't know what she identified with. And it didn't seem like it came from a website. I'm pretty good with the websites that I pull stories from. All right, here's the latest on the Lakewood shooter. The former mother-in-law of Lakewood church attacker Janice Moreno said the shooting that left the woman dead and Moreno's son critically wounded should be a wake-up call to authorities. So this is a Facebook post that the mother-in-law wrote. Now, remember, it was reported that her husband's family had some Jewish people in it, and that was thought to be the reason for her rage and hatred of Jewish people. So now here we are after this, and her mother-in-law is now, writing Facebook screeds about what happened. Her mother-in-law is Rabbi Wally Carranza. Like, she shouldn't just have some Jews in her family that she didn't like. She's got a mother-in-law who's a rabbi and she's crazy. This woman doesn't really hate Jews. She's not like a neo-Nazi. This woman doesn't really hate. This woman's crazy. And it just so happens that her mother-in-law, who I'm certain she despises regardless of her faith, her mother-in-law happens to be a rabbi. So there you go. I hate Jews. My mother-in-law's a rabbi. Stuff like that. In a Facebook post, Rabbi Wally Carranza revealed that Morena, 36, was taking medication for schizophrenia and had raged against Israel and Jews in a pro-Palestinian rant Sunday before the shooting at the church 6 miles from downtown Houston. Carranza said that despite the rant, she believed the shooting had nothing to do with Judaism or Islam and was instead a case of a person with a mental illness not getting care and the intervention she needed. Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Let's forget about the motivation, okay? And let's try and fix why she was motivated to do that. She was motivated to do that, not, because I hate Jews. No, but really, what else is behind that? She's crazy. She's crazy. She bought a gun, man. Come on. I keep telling my Second Amendment buddies, my gun friends, all my friends are gun people. I'm not an anti-gun person, not at all. But again, man, come on. She shouldn't have been able to get a gun. The fault lies in the Child Protective Services of Montgomery. The fault lies, here's what the mother-in-law is blaming. The fault lies in a Child Protective Services of Montgomery County and Harris County that refused to remove custody from a woman with known mental illness that was not being treated, and with the state of Texas for not having strong red flag laws that would have prevented her from owning or possessing a gun, Carranzo said. Now, here's another thing maybe we're not considering. You know, this Rabbi Carranza lady who drove the shooter nuts, who the shooter hated, this rabbi, her mother-in-law, the rabbi, she's also a grandma. She's also a grandma whose baby, whose grandbaby has a bullet in his head because this mom was such a crazy ass. Anyway, so a lot going on there. Anyway, that's the update. I don't know that we really need to know anymore. I think we can close the book on the Lakewood shooter and not discuss it anymore. Oh boy. Hey, let's hope here's something that we're not discussing every single minute of every hour for the next 2 years. The plague is back. That's right. We thought the bubonic plague was gone. Turns out the bubonic plague is back. And I'm sure Pfizer has the cure. A dude in Oregon got the plague, the bubonic plague. You know, the rat plague that killed like half the world back in, I don't know, when did the plague happen? 78, 1979, something like that. I don't know. It was a long time ago. So the plague is back. It's in Oregon. A dude got it from his cat. His cat had a tick or a flea. Because remember, that's how people got, because there were rats everywhere. It was sanitation. The reason that we have sewers and stuff now is because of the plague. Because people were just pooping in the streets for 1,000 years. And, that had a bad result. So he got it from a flea from his cat. And he got the plague. like, what would the doctor be like? What is bubonic plague? And by the way, just a little fun fact: the bubonic plague has not been wiped out. The bubonic plague still pops up from time to time in different places around the world. In fact, last year it popped up right here in Texas. I don't remember that story, but it was cited in the story that I read today. Someone had bubonic plague in Texas. Now, this ain't Ebola. Remember when the Ebola person came to Texas? All the best disease carriers, all the best patient zeros come to Dallas. They do. But yeah, we had an Ebola case here. Here's what they're not telling you. All right. The headlines are saying the plague is back. A man in Oregon has been diagnosed with the bubonic plague. Headlines. Bubonic plague is 100% treatable and not bad at all. By today's standard, penicillin. They didn't have penicillin back then. You get the plague, you get some penicillin. You are right as rain, my friend. Not only is this dude in Oregon who's being used to sell papers and get clicks because he's a guy with the plague, not only is he going to be fine, but his cat is going to be fine. The cat that gave him the plague is going to be fine. So let's not get all ginned up about the plague being back. Daily Show. We played the Jon Stewart stuff from yesterday. Jon Stewart made his return to the Daily Show after 9 years of being away. And he got great reviews. People were like, well, he didn't get great reviews from the left. A lot of people on the left were like, because he talked truth about Biden. He was like, hey, man, come on. He can't be president, which is what any reasonable person would say. Of course, I also believe that any reasonable person would look at Trump and go, hey, man, he can't be president. I mean, that's where we are. That's why this is so crazy. So Jon Stewart did that because he's, I believe, a smart, reasonable man, and he took some hits from the left. But on a brighter note, the ratings came out. It was like the biggest show in Comedy Central history. TV ratings: Jon Stewart's Daily Show return hits multi-year high. Comedy Central records its most watched episode of television since March. Yeah, sure. Since March of 2018. All right, hold on. I just got another request. I'm very popular. James Parker would like to know, can you do 2:35 today? Sure. Why not? Sure. There you go. No idea what we're talking about. James Parker, 2:00, Monday through Friday on WBAP 93.1. Catch me in my entertainment rants Anyway, TV ratings, Jon Stewart's Daily Show return. He hits a multi-year high. Comedy Central records its most watched episode since March of 2018. I don't even know how to watch Comedy Central. I said this, I watched the clips. I have no idea how to watch Comedy Central. Stewart's first show back as part-time host of Comedy Central's late-night flagship drew 930,000 viewers on Monday, the most for a Daily Show installment in almost 6 years, and the most for a Paramount MTV 1.8. I don't know. They're doing numbers. It was a big show. They did big numbers. I don't understand how they were breaking down the numbers there, but obviously they're trying to make it seem like it was a big ratings number, and that's a big ratings number that's a big cumulative audience for Comedy Central. That's undeniable. How about this? Here's some more fun stuff. Taylor Swift still making news. We're 2 days now past the Super Bowl when we all should be done talking about Taylor and Travis, but here we are. Why? Because this is a fun one. Did you know Taylor Swift had Kanye West kicked out of the Super Bowl? That's what they say. Hold on, James. I got to respond to James. Cool. I lost my train of thought because I got a meeting this afternoon, and now I'm thinking, do I have to move the meeting back to do this? I don't know. We'll figure it out. It's not a problem. Taylor Swift had Kanye West kicked out of the Super Bowl. Apparently, Kanye West spent like shit tons of money, because that's all he's got now is money to burn. He spent a whole bunch of money buying seats right in front of Taylor Swift's box. He was apparently trying to steal a little bit of thunder because he knew that every time the camera would be on her, he would be on him as well. And Taylor Swift was like, nope. She had him. She went all Luca, and she had him removed. Now let me see how they explain the story, because that's how I understand the story. But let's see. Who better at slinging gossip than the Daily Mail from England? Let's see what they say about it. Taylor Swift got Kanye West kicked out of the stadium at the Super Bowl after he bought tickets directly in front of her VIP suite to steal the limelight. Ex-NFL player incredibly claims. By the way, all these claims were made by Brandon Marshall, who I love. I love Brandon Marshall. I think as far as being an advocate for mental health and therapy and, figuring out exactly what's going on with you and fixing it and then talking about how you fixed it because maybe others will then fix themselves. Brandon Marshall is an incredible advocate for that because he was crazy. He's bipolar and all of these things, and it really affected his playing career on a number of teams. Whether it was Denver, not so much Chicago. Chicago is where he really, when he got traded to the Bears, is where he really sort of started taking his mental health seriously, and he became an advocate and all that. So anyway, I say all that for Brandon Marshall, but he's also kind of a bullshitter. So I don't know if this is true. This is according to Brandon Marshall. What is the connection there? Brandon Marshall is friends with Kanye West. I know it's like a weird little thing, but Brandon Marshall, former NFL great wide receiver, is friends with Kanye West. And he says that Taylor Swift had Kanye kicked out of the Super Bowl. All right, let's go. We are moving on. We got a bunch of stuff. Cliffside Homes. This story's hysterical. Why? Because I hate the rich. Cliffside Homes in Dana Point, California are dangling. Here, let's watch this. Because of all the rain and all the mudslides and all that stuff. Hold on. We'll show you this. I don't know if you saw this report yesterday. And why do I think this is funny? You know why I think this is funny? Because these people with their 15 million cliffside homes over the Pacific Ocean, they better have insurance. And you know what else? They got insurance. But also, they're the kind of people that when they start to realize that their house might be in danger of sliding off the hillside into the ocean, they can just go check into the Four Seasons or some fancy Palm Springs resort for the next month. So yeah, it's hysterical because their house falling into the ocean is nothing more than an inconvenience for these people. And I just think if your house falls into the ocean, it should be more than that. I think it should just be a really bad thing. But here you go. Let's look at this. Okay, so this is from ABC News last night. This was, I don't know who the ABC News guy is. David, what is this? I don't even know who he is. That's how unimportant network news, the 530 network news is to me. All right. Do it this way. Here we go. Let's watch this. These are the California mansions that are Sliding. It's a tragedy. It's so sad.
Those homes teetering on the edge of a cliff in California after a landslide tore the hillside away. Their backyards now gone tonight with more rain on the way. ABC's Matt Rivers on the scene south of Los Angeles tonight.
Okay. The backyards are gone. Now, I actually have the Google map pulled up from this. They never had a backyard. The backyard is not gone. That's just a really ginned up way of saying that their sod seems to have gone away. There's no sod anymore on them.
Tonight, dramatic images showing homes on the edge, seemingly on the verge of falling into the ocean.
All right, see this right here? Doesn't this look like this just happened? Like look at that, it all fell into there. No, I'll show you the Google map from like 2 years ago. It's the same thing. It looks the same thing. There's a little bit of green grass here that seems to have fallen away, but come on.
Just south of Los Angeles. A recent landslide sending debris plunging at least 150 feet below.
All right, can we just look at this? Look at how awesome that would be, man. You know what? If these people want to try and live like Tony Stark, you know what?
Ripping away this home's backyard, leaving the patio poking out just feet away from the cliff.
That lighter area there where the collapse happened, you can see just how much damage was done. This could have been...
Okay, now wait a second. From this angle, this actually does look like this was probably from up here. So okay, so maybe it's more significant than I thought.
So much worse, but thankfully no one was injured.
Officials say there is no immediate threat to the 3 multi-million-dollar mansions. One of the homeowners did not want to go on camera, but tells our station, KABC, his home is secure and has not been red tagged by the city.
I would be very nervous if I lived there, certainly.
This comes as much of California sits on saturated...
All right, well, there you go. You get that. Would you stay in the house? Like, even if they came by and said, you're fine. Remember, you're a billionaire. Those are people who have options. They don't have to stay in that house. As a matter of fact, they don't probably only live in that house year round anyway. It's probably just a house for a couple of months a year. They could go other places. Couldn't imagine staying there. My whole backyard. No. All right. Like I said, that's a hysterical story because it's rich people being inconvenienced. Reminds me of my partner Kelly and I. We used to do the Pugs and Kelly show. We got in trouble once and we never got in trouble. We were smart about what we did. We never got in trouble. Other people got in trouble. We never got in trouble. But this time we got in trouble for something, and it was so weird because it was so out of left field. Here's what we got in trouble for. There was a story about homes, wildfires threatening Malibu Canyon celebrities and movie stars and all these like super expensive homes. All right. It was a story. And Kelly and I were doing a show and we were just riffing on that story. We were joking about, each celebrity. The story mentioned a bunch of celebrities' homes who were in trouble. And Kelly and I said, oh, Magic Johnson, do we care? Do we care if his house burns down? And then, like kind of how I do with the Deads, where we run through a person's history and then try and figure out if we care, if something good or bad happens to them. That's what we did. It was just a bit. It was like, okay, these are the people whose homes are in danger. Do we care for them? Do we want to help? Ed Asner, ironically, was one. And we were like, nah, we got to grab a shovel. We got to help Ed. Ed Asner deserves our help, right? It was that kind of a bit. So after the show, the general manager of the radio station sends his assistant down, and they're like, he would like to see you. And we're like, what? What do you mean he wants to see it? This is a guy who we see every 4 years for a contract. Wait, he's not we deal with the program director. Why is the general manager of the radio station calling us to his office? So we go down to the office and we sit down, and we're sitting in these big leather chairs. We're like, what the f-? We just finished our show. Pretty good show. And he sits down, he's in a good mood, and he's being really nice because he was a good guy. And that's why I'm not saying his name, because this was not him. This was somebody above him. But he goes, so I just got off the phone from New York. And he mentions Mel Karmazin by name. Like Mel Karmazin, who was the guy who owned everything. He goes, I just got off the phone with New York. And Mel Karmazin's office got a call from somebody who is driving to the airport here in Dallas. And they heard you making fun of rich people's homes being on fire in Malibu. And so apparently that person is friends with Mel Karmazin. So he called Mel, and then now they're calling me. And so I got to say something to you guys about it. And me and Kelly are just sitting across from him in these big leather chairs. And he didn't say anything else. We didn't say anything else. It was just like, yeah, well, so what happens now? And this is why I won't say the guy's name. He looks at us and he goes, so I sat you down and told you, right? We go, yeah. We're like, okay. And we left. That was it. That was it. But you imagine that bitch? This is the elitism of the rich. They think, I'm driving to the airport and I hear these children on the radio making fun of something that I don't like. So I will call their boss in New York City and we will bring the wrath of hell down. Right? What kind of a fucking person does that? What kind of a dick, entitled a-hole? I don't know, rich people. I stand by laughing at some of their homes burning. And again, it's not like there were kids in the homes when they were burning. These are rich people. They were all at the Four Seasons in Palm Springs when their houses were being threatened. Nobody was in there. Oh, Lionel Richie's 15 Grammys are in danger. Oh, boo. Oh. The bit was like that. All right, let's keep going. You want to know what? All right, I need to take a breath because I always talk about how there's the whole world runs on a construct. The whole world runs on the belief that this is a thing, and talking about Wall Street. Wall Street is a sham. Wall Street is just a giant casino. And here's an example, something that occurred yesterday. And everything we hold dear is tethered directly to this monstrosity called Wall Street that we have allowed to be created. So here's what happened yesterday. Did you hear about Lyft? Lyft and Uber. Lyft filed their quarterly results, or their projections and all of that kind of stuff, their public projections yesterday, and they made an error with a decimal point. It said that they expect 5% growth in the next 5 years or something. And what they meant to say was they expect 0.05% growth. But what was released publicly was 5% growth. Lyft shares rose 700% because somebody didn't do a decimal. People became millionaires yesterday. Now, it was fixed, and then the prices dropped back down. But still, what is the number? It's still up 300% based on somebody putting a decimal point in the wrong place. People made fortunes yesterday. That's our system. That's our system. Oops. Money's not real. It's not real. Apes. Here's a fun story. So some scientists in Canada, I think it is, they've been doing a decade-long ape thing where, I don't know, they study apes. Whatever, you study apes. So they've been studying apes. And they've discovered that apes have a sense of humor. Isn't that interesting? I mean, things we take for granted. I don't know if my dog, I don't think my dog, I love my dog. I don't think my dog has a sense of humor. Humans have senses of humor, but do fish have a sense of humor? Do they have any sense of parody, any sense of irony? I don't know. But they say that apes do. They say that monkeys actually, not monkeys, apes. Here, wait, I'll give you the story here. Well, that's great apes. So we're talking about orangutans. I believe a chimpanzee is a great ape. I believe a bonobo is a great ape. But they seem to have a sense of humor. No joke. Apes have a sense of humor just like humans. What's so funny? Well, a new study suggests that apes possess a sense of humor just like humans. An international team has discovered that 4 species of the great apes, orangutans, chimpanzees, bonobos, and gorillas, all engage in playful teasing with one another. This behavior, identified by cognitive biologists and primatologists, mirrors human joking in its provocative, persistent nature. All right, I don't know. We don't need to go into anything more. We don't care. Anyway, apparently, apes have a sense of humor. You know that now. You know that now. You didn't know that when you woke up today. So, that's it, guys. We're basically out. We just ran through the show, didn't we? unless something big has happened. Has anything big happened in the last couple of hours? We're not done. We do have one more segment here, but as is always the case, the last segment of the day is more of a bit than really a segment. It's just an article that I found today that I thought we could go through and talk about. You know, I'm the Gen expert. You know, I'm a Gen X guy, and I consider myself to be a Gen expert, an expert on all things Generation X. Why? Well, because it's just easy to declare that, and I just did. I declare it, and so therefore it's a thing. But also a point of interest for me. So I found this story, this article today that lists the 25 best Gen X films. Now, this is interesting to me because I had never really considered that there was a Gen X genre of films. I mean, Singles comes off to me, I think, as like but that's more of a, if you were 20 in 1990, right? That's more of that. Is it Gen X? I guess it would be Gen X. It's more Seattle, more coincides with the rise of Nirvana and Pearl Jam and flannel and all of that. But I guess Gen X. All right, so let's go through these. These are what experts, who did experts? That's such a funny word. Film critics. Film critics from 25 of the globe's 50 large. What I don't care about that. But anyway, these are film critics. Film critics came together. They put this list. Number 25 on the list of the best Gen X films, Kids from 1995. I've never seen this movie, Kids. It's apparently a really rough watch, right? The other one that was a really rough watch was 13, which I watched. That was a rough watch. Kids is about street kids in New York, right? And they do a lot of crack, and they all have AIDS, and half of them are gay. It was very shocking for 1995. Kids, number 25 on the list of the 25 best Gen X movies. Suburbia from 1996. Who's in this? Get used to seeing Richard Linklater on this list. He's arguably the most prominent Gen X director on the planet, and his films seem relatable. I don't think I've ever seen Suburbia. I don't know what that is. Maybe I have. I don't know. Looks like Steven Zahn's in it. Number 23 on the list of the best Gen X films. They give us Chasing Amy. Yeah, okay, yes. Clerks, Chasing Amy, Singles. These are all movies that I would say, if there were to be a Gen X film genre, I'd put them in there. I love Chasing Amy. I thought Chasing Amy was great. Party Girl, absolutely, from 1995. Again, I don't know. Well. Okay, so here's what I'd say to a Party Girl and why it might be important if we were compiling a Gen X genre. Party Girl is important because it gave us Parker Posey. And Parker Posey is a goddamn treasure. If you people don't, Parker Posey is amazing. Anyway, it was her first movie, and it sort of burst her on the scene. Parker Posey is she's the quintessential Gen X princess. Why do I say that? Because Gen X is such a strange and square peg in a round hole kind of generation. It seems like it's the other generations that surrounds it, but there's just something slightly off about Gen X that isn't the same. That's Parker Posey. Parker Posey, you look at her and you're like, is she Lila Garrity from Friday Night Lights? Or is there something there's something just slightly off about Parker Posey's physical appearance and the way she carries herself that allows her to be this incredibly gifted actress where you're not distracted by, oh, she's so beautiful. You know what I mean? She's interesting. She's very Gen X in that regard. Parker Posey, Party Girl, 1995. Actually, what does it say about this? This is a great movie. If you've never seen Party Girl, she's so great. I remember seeing this movie and I'm like, where did she come from? Parker Posey was the indie film queen of the 90s, and she took her turn in a leading role with this underrated cult flick directed by Daisy Von Scherler. Posey's 20-something Mary is a free-spirited slacker who spends her time hanging out at clubs and throwing popular house parties. Party Girl. Clueless. All right. Yeah, I guess. Although wouldn't we I would almost give Clueless to the millennials Look, I think I think we could give Clueless to the millennials. I do. Let's see. High Fidelity. Absolutely. High Fidelity. John Cusack. I don't know who else is in that, but High Fidelity, definitely a Gen X movie. Fight Club, without a doubt. I forgot about that one. Fight Club is very Gen X. Fight Club might be I think I'm going to have to put together a special YouTube thing where I create my list of the 10 best Gen X films. Fight Club would be on there. What else do we have here? Scream. No, again, with Clueless, I feel as somebody born directly in the middle of Gen X. I am right in the middle of Gen X. Scream is not ours. Scream belongs to millennials. Gross Point Blank. Absolutely. Yeah, I would say Gross Point Blank. That's number 17. We're at number 17 now on the list of these. Gross Point Blank is a Gen X film. Empire Records. Empire Records is absolutely a Gen X film. Although maybe, wait a second. That's Clueless. Clueless I give to millennials. Empire Records is right in the middle. We're going Empire Records right in the middle. All right, but Gen X, sure. If they want to claim it, they can claim it. But I also wouldn't mind if millennials want to claim Empire Records. Train Spotting. Yeah, Train Spotting seemed very Gen X. Absolutely. Train Spotting, number 15. Let's see here. Swingers, number 14. Yeah, Swingers is very Gen X. Let's see here. Mallrats. Yeah, definitely. I think Mallrats feels very Gen X to me. But don't these all, like, we're at number 13 already? Are the top 10 going to be all John Hughes films? Because if you're talking about Gen X, these are all 90s Gen X things. This is really encroaching on millennial territory, and it's making me very uncomfortable. Number 13, Mallrats from 1995. Pump Up the Volume, Christian Slater, 1990. This is definitely Gen X. Remember Pump Up the Volume? Christian Slater started a pirate radio station in his basement, and the authorities got angry. I love that. Because it was about radio, and it was 1990, and I was like, 20, and I was trying to get in radio. Number 11, Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. Yep, that's Gen X. That's definitely a Gen X film. Do the Right Thing, number 11. All right, here we go. These are the top 10 Gen X films from 1992. Absolutely. In the comedy category of Gen X films, Wayne's World, Party Time. Excellent. Number 9, Slacker. Yeah, 1990, Slacker. Okay, this is Richard Linklater again, number 9. This would be in the top 3 of this is quintessentially Gen X. I don't know if you've ever seen Slacker. Slacker is the story of just a lazy day in Austin, Texas in 1990. And it's just about, I think it's all one camera. I think it might be all one camera shot where we follow one character walking down the street and we get a little story about what's going on with them. And then they meet somebody, like they pass a mailman. And then suddenly the camera starts to follow the mailman. And then we're in the mailman story, and the mailman knocks on a door and a woman comes to the door. And now we're following the woman who came to the door store. Slacker's a very good film. I need to watch that again. I saw that. I've only seen it once. I saw it in a movie theater. And I remember going, wow, is that interesting? Slacker, 1990, Richard Linklater. How about Boys in the Hood from 1991? Yep, that's Gen X. Before Sunrise, 1995. The only reason this might be Gen X is because the stars were Gen X. But this seems, again, like a very millennial. Yeah, just to me anyway. Let's see here. Number 6 from 1989. Yes, this is another one that would make my top 10. Number 6 on this list. Heathers from 1989. Christian Slater is, one of the bigs, one of the big Gen X guys. Pump Up the Volume, Heathers, doing his Jack Nicholson impersonation. That's number 6. Number 5. Here's this one, definitely 1989. Are you kidding me? Oh God! See, some of these are really hitting. Some of these are like, absolutely, that's a Gen X film. Say Anything. If John Cusack's in it and it's not old John Cusack, it's a Gen X film. Say Anything, 1989. All right, here we go. All right, this is what I'm like, how are we not, why aren't these there? Now we're in the big ones. All right, number 4, biggest Gen X film of all time from 1985, The Breakfast Club. Of course. Of course. And I'll tell you, I better know what, 3 is Singles. 3 is the aforementioned Singles. I love Singles. I don't think I've seen Singles in quite some time. Singles is a fun movie, man. Well, I guess you had to have been the age of the people in the movie, living a lifestyle similar to the people in the movie to truly embrace it. But I mean, I was managing bands, I was in clubs, I was interning in radio. I was just like, so Singles, that lifestyle, those people, I recognized those people, and it was just I don't even know if it's a good movie. It might be a stupid movie. I don't know, but it certainly directly connects with what my experience at the time was. Number 3, best Gen X films of all time, Singles. Well, let's see what it says about it. With Seattle's burgeoning grunge music scene as the backdrop, Singles details the lives of those in their early 20s navigating the choppy waters of love. While the cameos are fun and the soundtrack... Single soundtrack, I always say Singles and Valley Girl. Those are the 2 best soundtracks in the world. The Valley Girl soundtrack, if you can find it, it's been out of print forever, but it's very, very sought after. And the Singles soundtrack, that's incredible. By the way, in the movie, Matt Dillon plays a dude in a band, and he's like in love, or he's in a relationship with Bridget Fonda, like peak Bridget Fonda, like adorable Bridget Fonda. So Matt Dillon is like in a band. He's kind of a loser. Citizen Dick is the name of the band that he's in. Citizen Dick. And he's always hanging out with the other dudes in his band, but we never get to see him play, but he's always talking about how they're big in Portland and, all this kind of stuff. But fun fact, his band, like whenever you see the guys in his band that he's hanging out with, it's Pearl Jam. It's Pearl Jam before they were Pearl Jam. Well, it's Pearl Jam when they were on the verge of becoming Pearl Jam. But yeah, that is Eddie Vedder in Singles. Number 2, Reality Bites. Reality Bites comes in at number 2. Okay, we're going to take a moment on Reality Bites, okay? We're going to take a beat here. So, a couple things about Reality Bites. It was one of Ben Stiller's, I think it was Ben Stiller's first film that he directed. It starred Ethan Hawke, Janine Garofalo, Winona Ryder. It's the story of a girl fresh out of college. Again, was this 94? Girl fresh out of college, taking her first job, moves to the city, hanging out with a bunch of her young friends. They're going out and partying at night, but they got to wake up now at 9 o'clock to go fetch coffee for some guy that's their boss. That's what Reality Bites was, directed by Ben Stiller. We promoted it on the radio station I was on. So we had Ben Stiller come in, and we had Ethan Hawke come in, and Ben Stiller invited me personally to come to the screening for Chicago Critics. And he was there and all that. So I didn't hang out with him. It was me and like 50 other people, but it was Roger Ebert and, all these people. So I'm like, yeah, I'll see the movie. So I went and saw the movie, and I liked the movie, and I talked about the movie, and I told all my friends, I'm like, when this movie comes out, you're going to love it. It's going to be great. And the movie came out, and all of my friends saw it, and my friends were like, that movie sucks. And I'm like, your friends do that to you. Like if you accidentally say something's good and you really want to like it, then all of your friends will be like, I'm tired of hearing him be happy. Let's tell him that he's wrong for being happy and that the thing he likes that brings him joy is actual garbage, because that's what friends do to each other. No, we don't need therapy. No, let's just keep going like that, being unhappy. So Reality Bites came out. I still maintain it's a pretty good movie. It is a bit ham-fisted. Set here in Dallas. It's set in Dallas. That's one of the things that I appreciate about Reality Bites. The number 2 Gen X film, as listed in this little article we're reading from. I now, like the last time I watched it, I really got a kick out of the fact that all this stuff is happening in Deep Ellum. That all of this stuff, that's downtown Dallas. That's the Majestic. That's the, Reunion Arena. All of this stuff, they're kids. They live in Dallas. So, for what Singles did for Seattle, that's what Reality Bites is for Dallas. What does it say here? It says, full disclosure, there are stronger overall movies on this list. What was this written by one of my friends? What is one of my friends get involved in this now? Boy, that's a long joke that they let play out. Full disclosure, there are stronger overall movies on this list, but what Reality Bites does better than most Gen X films is hit the sweet spot about the question of what's next. In this case, director Ben Stiller showcases recent college graduates trying to find their place professionally, personally, and emotionally in Dallas, Texas. Stars Winona Ryder, Ethan Hawke, and Janine Garofalo. All right, never mind. All right, we'll move on from that one. There you go. That's number 2. Number 2 best Gen X flick of all time. All right, let's see what number 1. Are we ready? Huh. I gotta process this. I don't know that I would have it be number 1. I think I already mentioned it. I mentioned it in this whole thing. First of all, it's not Ferris Bueller. Where is Ferris Bueller? There's not a more Gen X film than Ferris Bueller. How did Ferris Bueller not make the 25? Anyway, number 1 is Clerks. Clerks, Kevin Smith from 1994. Very Gen X. Clerks is very Gen X. Absolutely. Like it or not, many in the latter end of Generation X liked to complain. Nothing was their fault, especially their lot in life. Whether a slacker or those seemingly content with working dead-end jobs, nobody summed that up better than Dante from Clerks. That's true. There you have it. All right. Hold on. That's it, guys. I got nothing else. We're done. Adam says, are you talking about Reality Bites being set in Houston? I thought it was set in Dallas. It says right here in the article, Dallas. Maybe they shot it in Houston, but they said in the movie it was Dallas. I don't know. I'll look into that because you're right. That's weird. They do. I mean, look, half the things that are supposedly set in New York are actually Toronto, right? So, a good example of that is Empire, the TV show. Empire is set in New York. Nobody knew that it was filmed in Chicago. So, or maybe it was, I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm starting to realize that maybe it wasn't that good of a movie and that I was just excited because Ben Stiller invited me to see the film personally. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Adam says, I said earlier, I feel like this list is about capturing the feeling of Gen X people. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. There were some good ones in there, but there are some that are like, I think that I really think that Ferris Bueller would have been number 1. That's what I would have put as, after all of the angst and all of the gloom and all of the anxiety and the over Gen X, the baby boomers are never going to give up power, and we've got the millennials coming behind us. They're going to just overpower our entire, that whole thing. That's like the ethos of Gen X. There's all of that. But there's also Ferris Bueller, who is who we all just wanted to be. I think that's number 1. I think Ferris Bueller's Day Off would be the quintessential Gen X movie. 16 Candles I'd put in there. Look, what are they trying to say? Okay, Gen X, but only when Gen X was 23, right? Because all of those movies that they seem to be about Gen X at 23, what about Gen X at 17? What about Gen X at 15? An entire generation is more than just, a 10-year span of movies. Actually, an entire generation is 15 years. So maybe it's not as bad as I thought. Al, our executive producer of the show today, says, I agree with Ferris Bueller. Should have been on the list. Set in Chicago. Yeah, it is. That's pretty much it, right? Yeah, we're done. We're out of show. Yeah, no, Footloose. April's like, where's Footloose? Where's Footloose? But, honestly, though, Footloose wasn't really a Gen X. Well, was it? Yes, it was. It was the rebellion against the older way of doing things. You know what? I am talking myself into Gen X being about that Gen X feeling, or about Footloose being about that Gen X feeling. I don't know. I got a lot of stuff to do. Apparently, I got to go be on James's show now in the next 35 minutes. And I don't know the first thing about what it is I'm supposed to be doing. So I guess that's going to be it for today's show. Check out the support the High Noon Rant, won't you? Venmo, PayPal, drop us a little. No, not PayPal. Don't. There's money in PayPal. I can't get it. I don't know how I'm supposed to do that. Venmo, Cash App, whatever it is, help out the show. We appreciate it. This has been a 2-hour plus stream of consciousness, and now I'm going to shut up.